Well, hello to everyone.
Hello.
This is part 2 of forgiveness and how forgiveness in the marriage makes the marriage work and is so healthy and beneficial. I'm Jacob.
And I'm LaShawn.
And this is Marriage Talk with Jacob and LaShawn. So we started a conversation on last week talking about forgiveness.
Yes.
And we talked about unforgiveness, and we talked about how dangerous it is when we allow unforgiveness that just hang around. We talked about how beneficial forgiveness is when we intentionally forgive. And now our verse of scripture that we stood on came from Colossians chapter number 3, verse number 13, and I read out of the International Standard Version, and it says to be tolerant with one another and forgive each other if anyone has a complaint against one another. So it's telling us to be tolerant, with one another, and knowing how to not take everything so personal with each other. And then the latter part of that verse of scripture says, just as the Lord has forgiven you, you should also forgive.
Yes.
And so we talked about that in depth a whole lot, and this subject on, of course, on forgiveness is very important, in the marital relationship. And, for the last 6 months, we've been talking about different things. We've been talking,
topics,
different topics. We've been talking about teamwork. We've been talking about trust. We've been talking about communication.
Love and commitment. Quality time, finances, sacred bedroom.
And even keeping score.
Yes.
And as I was meditating on this part 2, in order for us to perfect each one of those topics, we're going to have an opportunity to forgive each other. Starting with teamwork. If we're going to operate as a team and we flow as a team, at some point in there we're going to do something or say something, that you don't like that I say, and vice versa. And we have to forgive each other. It's just part of it, getting to know each other. And like I always like to say, in relationships, the closer you get in relationship, the more of the imperfection
you see of the individual.
That's right. That's right.
Closer. A distance is always different because we
That's
can
right.
only see some of the outer parts. But
that's right.
when you get up close on people and you see, they have scars. Or
that's right. Just like me.
Right. They have a lot of things on them too. And it's not as perfect as it looks.
The grass ain't as green on the other side as I thought it was.
Right.
Because coming to stay is different from coming to visit.
Right.
When you come to visit, then you only see what I show you. But when you come to stay, you see all that little thing I've been hiding all the time. Because at some point, you
reveal who
that's
you
right.
truly are.
That's right.
Then
That's
you get
right.
comfortable with people, and then so you tend to let back and lay back, and so you tend to reveal more because you feel more comfortable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we were even talking earlier, and we want you guys out there to really understand when we're talking about forgiving. You have some issues that are I'm not going to say it's small or minute, because what may be small or minute to me might be a big issue. But definitely when you're dealing with infidelity and you're dealing with perhaps physical abuse, that's, and verbal abuse, that's more than, would you forgive me? And you just,
just move over,
right.
Skip over it. Those things are very serious, and they often take a lot more time. But also it also takes a lot more work.
That's right.
Has to be done.
That's right.
For instance, physical abuse. Certainly, we would never encourage anyone to stay.
That's right.
You should remove yourself from that situation.
That's right.
And get to safety.
Because love doesn't hurt.
No.
You know, you can't say you love me,
right.
but then I'm waking up the next day with a black eye.
Right.
I'm waking up the next day,
right?
You know, and you saying you know, not only do we need counseling together, but if I'm the offender, first of all, before we can even come together, I need to sit on somebody's couch or in their chair, because I need to be honest with myself and say, you know, why when we having a discussion like this, disagreement, you know, we get in an argument, you know, I always want to result in hitting. You know, there's some issues with me that I need to deal with first before we even come in, you know, and say, you know, let's try to work this out, you know, where we could bring, you know, forgiveness inside it. And, you know, when it comes to a situation like that, that is definitely a process. That's a whole lot bigger than me getting upset with you because you ate my chicken out of the refrigerator or drank my drink. You know, this is taking it to a whole different level. And we would never try to insinuate or make it lightly when we're talking about forgiving each other, that in a situation like that, well, just forgive. You know, no, we need to deal with that in a little bit more depth, you know, with a situation like that.
I mean, the physical abuse is really just the outward.
That's right.
The inward, something is happening or has happened, and that person really needs to get some counseling. And you know, before you even insert yourself back into the situation again, that person needs to, one, you know, find out what is the root cause of me, that when I get so upset that I have to escalate it to a physical. I move from, you know, verbal to physical. And then the person that may be harmed, you have to really find out, why do I think it's okay for me to stay or deal with that? Because there's some root cause to that needs to be dealt with. So before we can get to forgiveness, then we have to find out what the root cause is. And then we have to, you know, some healing some counseling and some healing takes place before we can get to forgiveness. So I mean, it just has a longer path before I can just say I forgive you and you just knock one of my teeth out. You know, that's just not okay. We have a serious issue. And so, you know, we just, you know, felt like we needed to put some, you know, clarification, some qualifiers
when we talk about forgiveness.
It's just a little different. You know, if you know you forgot to pick up some stuff from the grocery store, and you know,
I overspend, you know, and you know, I might
our anniversary or birthday date, or you know, not to negate that, but I'm saying that, you know, if we have any physical abuse, then that we definitely have some problems. And we certainly say, hey, you need to seek, you know, help from the authorities if need be. You know, if you need to go to a safe place, please do so. You know, if you need to get counseling from your pastor, or you know,
you couple, have EAP on your
job, or there's so many resources out there for you to get assistance and to get help and to get yourself to safety. Because it is never okay. I don't care what the circumstance. Well, I made him. There is absolutely no excuse that qualifies and say, oh, it was okay for me to raise your hands. You know, physically abuse. I mean, that is just not love, and you know, that's just not okay. And so, you know, we wanted to certainly set the record straight when it comes to forgiveness. You know, all of that, you get there, but there's a bigger issue at hand that has to be dealt with. And again, like I said, you know, counseling and, you know, and then, you know, that healing process, and then we can walk up to trust, and then we can walk up to forgiveness. So there's certainly a process there, and if that is the process or that you need to take, you should do that. Most definitely.
The Bible talks about to be angry and sin not. You know, anger is a natural emotion. We see in the Word of God where Jesus got angry. You know, so that's an emotion that that God gave us. And I think, in many of our lives, situation that we may be dealing with, it's not going to be until we get angry at being in that state for so long that we are going to, do something about it.
Absolutely.
But it says, be angry and sin not. Right. So now, when I get angry and it takes me to a place where I'm going to be so regretful about my behavior and my attitude afterward, and it takes me to a place where I'm doing something, that I really don't want to do and really didn't mean to do, then, I got to deal with that. So we never negate that emotion, but I need to know how to manage that emotion. Yeah. Just like all the other emotions that I have, anger is an emotion that God gave me. Otherwise, He wouldn't say to be angry. Right. He's telling me, no, I want you to, there's some things that you're dealing with until you get angry at that situation. You're going to keep allowing it to happen. Right. But I want you to be angry and sin not. I don't want you to be angry and lose control. Right. I don't want you to be angry and lose your mind. I want you to be angry and now you are not operating as a man or a woman created in my image and in my likeness. Right. I looked up this word forgiving in the Greek, and I want to pronounce this the right way. This word forgiving in the Greek is pronounced chazrozomai. Charizomai. And it means to do a favor. It means to show kindness unconditionally. It means to give or forgive freely. And it means to grant forgiveness. And this is the same word, root word, charis in Greek, that's talking about grace. That we are saved through and by grace. Yes. Unconditionally. Yes. It's not, we doing certain things, we praying enough, we reading our Bible enough, we giving enough on why God extending this grace. And in the marriage relationship, that's where we should be at when it comes to forgiveness. It also got in here, adopt and practice diligently every form of relational righteousness. And that relational righteousness is love, is compassion,
humble attitudes, self-giving behavior, freely flowing forgiveness, and patience with others. Right. And among all things, it also says to choose peace to govern all of your relationships. Right.
Right. And I think that just went so good what we were talking about on last week, and that's not taking things so personal in the relationship. When you get in the relationship, you should already know that, we are two different people. We ain't going to say everything alike. We ain't going to do everything alike. There going to be certain things that I say that you was like, I don't understand that. I don't see that, and you go and vice versa. You gonna say or do things,
I say that all the time.
but we don't. But we don't have to take it personal. Right. When we understand that, we are still, even though we became one, when we, said I do, we still two individual, and our personality is not identical. No. But we learn how to accept each other for who God created us to be, and not what we want the next person to be. And sometimes we may say something, we may do something that we always have the opportunity to take personal, but it's a matter of choice.
I mean, sometimes you just have to realize, what, we ain't gonna argue over the same thing all over again. That's right. We're not gonna continue to have the same situation. Right. And some things, I mean, we just take it straight directly to God, and that's right. You know what? That's your son. That's your daughter.
That's right. That's right.
With the exception of those things that we discussed earlier. Right. But not taking it so personal, but learning how to really forgive. And the worst thing I think about, unforgiveness is that you are still angry with someone and they have no idea. Right. You haven't even had a discussion with them. That is just so unfair. Well, they should know what they did. Trust me. Sometimes you got to break it down real simple, folks, and tell them,
when you say this or you did that, this is how I felt about it.
Right.
But I didn't know you felt this way. Well, that's why we are discussing this right now, because I don't want to hold that in. Right. And I got an attitude with you, and you wondering why I got the attitude. Right. Well, this is what's going on.
Yes.
And we should be able to have those type of conversation with each other without me and you screaming at each other. Now you either verbally or I either verbally abusing you, and now we end up in a big fight.
Right.
We should be able to talk like that and communicate like that, because we even talked about communication. Good communication, constant communication makes the marriage work.
Right, and just being able to, sit down and talk about things and discuss it, rationally, like two adults, no matter what the situation is,
So the question is, what does real relationship power in a marriage look like?
Okay. So,
because I want to know that.
Sure, yeah. So a couple things. One is honesty.
Yeah, we should be able to be honest with each other. Especially when it's something that we disagreed about.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
I should be able to be honest with you without fear of retaliation back from you.
Yeah.
If we got, and then authenticity.
Right. Being authentic, like being who you are.
Right.
Not being afraid that I have to be someone else when I'm talking with you, or like some people say, well, I want her to be like this person. It's like, why do you want to duplicate?
Right.
We all are fearfully and wonderfully made, and with our own personalities, our own traits, we got our own laugh, our own,
that's right.
We got a definition of who we truly are, and God made us that way. So being authentic,
is very much necessary. And I should be able to allow you to be authentic, and you should be able to allow me to be authentic.
Absolutely.
And then faithfulness.
Absolutely.
Real power, relationship power is faithfulness in our relationship.
Yeah.
And if there's no faithfulness there, we're gonna have that tense.
You gotta be faithful and loyal to yourself,
right?
And then you can be faithful and loyal to somebody else.
And I gotta be honest with myself before I can be faithful with you. If I got an issue, then I need to be faithful and honest with myself that no, I need to deal with this, because there's no way we're gonna have an authentic relationship. At first I'm not authentic with myself. And then respectfulness.
Yes. So I said, if you don't respect yourself, and you can't respect others.
That's right.
It's just difficult, because if you don't mind dishonoring yourself, then you don't mind dishonoring someone else.
Absolutely.
So you gotta have, respectfulness, is that's really having real power in your relationship, or we should say real relationship power will produce respectfulness.
That's right. Yeah, I like that. And then last but not least, a desire to support my spouse's dreams and vision. That's real relationship power in the marriage. When we are supporting each other, because there are some things, and it's okay that because we don't see it alike, you might want to do something different, doesn't mean there's division there. As you are growing and being promoted on your job or whatever it may be, I should be one of your biggest supporters.
Absolutely.
I should, and you should be one of my biggest supporters. And that's what real relationship power look like in the marriage. Not I'm holding unforgiveness. I gotta always be in control. I'm verbally abusing you. I'm physically abusing you. That's not real relationship power in the marriage relationship. And I think when we settle these things, these few things right here, that this is what real relationship power looks like in the relationship, and we are working toward that. It's not hard when there's something that you may say or do that, I'm okay to forgive, and vice versa. It's when these things are not there.
Right, yeah. So, I just think that the culmination of this lesson that we are just wrapping up, is really, really good. And again, like we said, to always choose peace to govern all your relationships. And
right.
if you don't have a relationship that you have peace in, then it's really not a relationship.
That's right.
And I'm not saying every day is going to be sunshine, but I'm saying if every day is constant, just chaos,
bickering and chaotic,
then there is no peace in
right.
that relationship.
Right. Right.
And you have to choose.
And
peace.
we have to deal with that.
Right. Yes.
Don't just accept it as this is how the relationship should be,
not,
because that's not normal.
Seek help.
That's right.
Go to your clergy, your pastor, your minister, a couple that, has a model marriage, and you see that they're walking the steps.
Very
and
important.
They have the demonstration of a very good marriage.
Relationship.
Not just look it, but
and not just talk it.
Right. And you see it.
That's right.
And then if you have to get counseling through your job, or they have so many resources out here today. That if you need help, you should try to do that.
The only thing we should be tolerating is each other difference.
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
So we're going to aim there, but on next week, we're going to be talking about spiritual growth together.
Yes.
Spiritual growth, very important, that, and that's one of the things that we were very blessed to be able to have happen over these last almost 30 years is we grew together spiritually. We like to talk a lot in these substance abuse treatment about psychic change. Romans 12:2 tells us, to be renewed, to be transformed. About the renewing of our mind, and so we want to talk about that. We want to engage in a conversation with spiritual growth together.
Yes.
So until next week, guys, you guys just be blessed.
Yes.
And we thank you so much for tuning in, sending in your comments. Again, remember, not only are these videos on Facebook, but it's also on YouTube. If you haven't been to my YouTube page yet, please go on, look for Jacob Jenkins, and then Marriage Talk with Jacob and LaShawn. Subscribe to it, and you will always get a notification each and every time that I upload these videos. Again, you guys be blessed.
Be blessed.